Alrighty, welcome back everyone, it is LaughNgamez here. Today I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 replay cast. Today we've got ourselves what should be a pretty interesting and great game to see. It's a Terran versus Zerg on the map Proxima Station here, and we've got sort of an interesting clash of players right now. We've got a Korean Terran spawning down the bottom left. It is NaTuRal. Currently teamless. NaTuRal is one of the players who's known to be on the cusp of being like a full-time pro, being one of the consistent Terrans there. He's had a few breakout performances, but really he's just known as one of the players who's obviously very good at Starcraft, but still just really one of the pros in the scene. Now spawning up in the top right-hand side of the map, it is a Mexican Zerg, JimRising here. JimRising posts lots of his replays for me to cast. You might have noticed I've cast a few of his games here. So really we're going to have to see how JimRising does this. This is one of his, I believe it's one of his latter games, just of him practicing on the Korean server, hence matching with the Korean Terran. So it's really going to be interesting to see how this sort of plays out, these two guys just sort of practicing to their fullest. Now, Korean Terrans can be said to be very scary, so we're going to have to see how JimRising can go up against him. Looks to be standard openings from both of these guys. Just looking to be a standard Reaper for NaTuRal, and then JimRising going to be going into just a standard hatchery then pool. Forward expand for JimRising, which is much more common. When this map first came out, it was sort of expected that Zergs would always expand towards the back, and I'm sure once upon a time that they would have. However, it sort of changed into Zergs always expanding to the front, as it's quite a narrow opening, so it makes it very easy to wall off to protect from Hellions. It opens up this back base for the later expand. JimRising, by the way, taking that quick third base here. So having this opens up the base. It allows very easy creep spread because it is further forward. Now we just see Lings, Queens on the way for JimRising. Meanwhile, the Reaper for NaTuRal is going to move across the map, but everything should time out just nice for JimRising. He is getting his quick third hatch, so not like it'd be any like super early aggression. We'll see how he sort of plans on playing this out, as Proxima Station can play out a little bit differently, as it is sort of an odd shaped map as far as the way the players sort of engage each other here. It's not very open, it's a bit closed off as far as maps go. We now see this Reaper coming in for NaTuRal, doing the best of his micro ability, killing off one Zergling there, then pulling out. Queen's gonna pop out, so that Reaper's really not gonna get too much more done. Speed on the way for JimRising. And then NaTuRal is just macroing up at home, it looks like, getting up a starport now, so it looks like he maybe, it's actually not too definitive what he's going for. However, this could be a bit of a Hellbat timing that NaTuRal's going for here. I say this because he's not going for another barracks, he's not going for a third CC, and he's not really going for any further tech. It's just looking like it's going to be setting up for him producing possibly Hellions, Marines, there's no stim on the way, and then so I believe we may see an armory possibly go down here, or he may just lift this off. So it's looking like it's just going to be maybe a bit of a Marine Medivac early pressure. This is a bit of an odd and uncommon build here. We may see a mine come out as well. JimRising poking in with this Overlord, seeing what's coming his way. Maybe a little bit confused. This isn't too common of a Terran build. Right now, this is what we're going to see. We're seeing a Cyclone instead of a mine coming out of NaTuRal. So he's going to be hitting a timing attack here, which is going to be much more soon than the regular Terran versus Zerg timings. Usually Terran would get up stim, or they'd get an armory and go for sort of Hellions into then Hellbats. But right now, NaTuRal's actually just opting for what's going to be a Cyclone into Cyclone and Marine dropping. This is going to hit fairly hard, as JimRising is not really going to be prepared for an attack like this hitting at this early timing. Now, the reason why this attack is going to be fairly scary is because there's a Cyclone. Cyclones are very great versus just Zerglings, very great versus Queens, and with the Medivac support, these Marines should be doing very well. We see 10 Lings on the way for JimRising. I don't believe he scouted this. He saw the production, so maybe that's enough to tip him off. We see a command center on the way for NaTuRal, so macro just follow up for NaTuRal. But we're going to see what sort of damage he gets done with this. He's going to unload here. It is certainly scouted by JimRising as NaTuRal's moving in, guns blazing right now. The Cyclone, the Marines here, this is a fair bit of damage with all this healing coming out too, but no, NaTuRal's forced to lift off. Not a single unit goes down. So far, JimRising pushes him back. NaTuRal wasn't quite clumped up there. Now he's going to have this corner, though. which he can back into, and that's going to make him very effective versus just Zergans with poor surface area. Baneling Nest on the way for JimRising, but it's not likely going to come into effect here. We see NaTuRal just abusing this corner right now. JimRising, they're doing a great job focusing down these medivacs with his queen, almost getting one. And so far, NaTuRal's finding no damage done with this pressure. Stim's on the way for NaTuRal, but everything's a little bit later as he did commit to this attack early on. He's going to have the Marines, the medivacs, but not too much to follow it up. Meanwhile, JimRising is just droning up. He's going to be heading to a healthy 3-base economy, then getting out a Spire, because JimRising is a player who loves his Mutalisk. NaTuRal continuing to poke right now. However, it's a very risky poke, as this one medivac is incredibly low, so it's possible he'll lose it all. And it is indeed scouted here. This Overlord is actually just going to sort of force NaTuRal to unload here, as he's not going to sort of suicide in there by any means. Baneling speed on the way for JimRising, so playing it safe in case there's sort of a follow-up attack, he'll be prepared to deal with that. The one thing that's a bit interesting from this build for JimRising is he doesn't have any upgrades right now, so his lings are just going to be currently going to be on 0-0 upgrades. NaTuRal's heading towards 1-1. As a result, JimRising, though, is going to have this healthier mute account. That's sort of where all the extra gas is going to be going right now. Spire is going to be finishing up any second. I believe NaTuRal might have scouted that. No, he actually hasn't. He can possibly assume, though, this 4th base for JimRising has just gone up, and NaTuRal may actually be able to unload here and sort of kill it off, force a cancel at the very least right now. Cyclone unloading, gonna shred that right away. Cancel goes down for JimRising, however, NaTuRal picking that off is very nice. It's a bit of damage right now. And now NaTuRal is gonna return home as Mutalisk are on the way, and he doesn't want to be caught out. 1-1 though, finishing up for NaTuRal right now. He's secured his 3rd base. He's gonna be macroing up. His economy is gonna be very nice. It's gonna reach this sort of plateau point for Terran, in which they just have the option to push and push if they like. JimRising engaging off creep, kicking off a medivac. Fortunately for NaTuRal, it was not a full medivac right now, although JimRising's continuing to push off, and this is sort of catching NaTuRal off guard as he was split up. He didn't really have too much else with this. JimRising was able to take an engagement. No combat shield for NaTuRal just yet, so these Banelings are terrifying right now. They're rolling in. JimRising playing it very bold right now. They're eating 3 Widowmine shots of 3 individual Mutalisks going down. However, there was just enough on the ground for JimRising to continue this poke, and it's sort of stifled the push of NaTuRal. Nipped it in the bud, to say. Now, this has allowed JimRising to spread creep. He lost a few mutas. They're looking at the units lost. Yeah, he lost a few mutas, a few Banes, but for the amount of Marines that have gone down, that was a great trade, as NaTuRal hadn't quite solidified yet. JimRising's now going to be able to spread more creep, get up this 4th base right now. Going to get up his Evo, so he will be getting upgrades, which are going to be very late. NaTuRal's heading towards 2-2, so JimRising's going to need to start these upgrades right away. But either way, he's doing a very great job. He's building up this high mute count, which is terrifying, upgrades or no. And we're actually seeing +1 Fire Carapace too. So these mutas are sort of the bigger investment for JimRising than its ground army. And Zerg players, if they can get away with it, they love their Mutalisk right now. We see NaTuRal pushing out once again. He's going to be moving, sort of coming more from a southern angle right now. However, JimRising's moving in. He's going to start picking off add-ons. This is where Mutalisks get their value right now. We're going to see 2 reactors go down, and I believe JimRising will then retreat. Yes, he does. Safely getting away. Meanwhile, NaTuRal's pushing towards the south. There's these rocks here. However, JimRising's most likely going to notice if this gets attacked. NaTuRal may just elevator in there, though, and he's actually going to do just that. Now he's sort of backed into a corner, so really it's going to depend on the engagement JimRising takes. There's so many Banelings here for JimRising. There's currently 18 Banelings on the map. That's more than enough, but there is indeed these Widowmines connecting with the mutas, though, sort of baiting out the shots, and all these medivacs are forfeit. This is why this was a bold move for NaTuRal. The medivacs are boosting away, but they're going to be forced to unload right now. All the Marines unloading, however, the Banelings, the Lings getting on top, and then the mutas should be able to kill off these medivacs. 1 mine unburrows, but doesn't, or unloads, but it doesn't get a chance to burrow. There's now these Widow Mines here being cleaned up. JimRising not letting anything sort of sit. And now we're seeing 16 mutas on the way. Another 5 for JimRising. He's reaching this scary Mutalisk count. And NaTuRal just having Marines. He's producing 14 Marines at a time. That's a scary amount. However, if JimRising has good enough control, he should just be able to avoid the damage from this. Meanwhile, drones moving for JimRising, securing a 5th base. It's a very far out 5th base, so it could be a little bit risky him taking this. He may be relying on it sort of not being the focus of NaTuRal. NaTuRal once again loading up into Medivacs. It's a very risky move to do this, however, he knows the mutas are busy. The mutas trying to pick off engineering bay. One of them is going to go down to, while that engineering base is being attacked, NaTuRal actually starts +3. So we now see 1-1 versus 2-2 upgrades. So NaTuRal, if he gets a straight up ground fight, his units will do very well. However, JimRising sort of just dominating regardless of these lower upgrades. He's now getting +2 Carapace, +2 Mutalisk attack on the way, well, +2 Flyers. Flyer attack on the way. No Overseer with this army for JimRising though, so a couple of Rogue Widowmines could possibly deal massive damage to these mutas. However, NaTuRal, he's just trying to sort of get anything done, but JimRising's doing a great job shutting it down, and I feel as if there's a bad future coming for these Marines right now. The Lings are going to get on top of them, and then with the mutas, they can't do anything, they're just dead. These Marines are going to try and pick off as much as they can, maybe focus down a Mutalisk or two. The Medivacs, though, can't get away, and I believe we saw 2 mutas for those 2 full Medivacs. A great trade by JimRising there. JimRising now maxing out on supply. His upgrades are a bit weak, so there's going to be room for NaTuRal to sort of take a fight, as JimRising's not going to get too much carry lately. When we're actually seeing 1 or 2 of these mutas being caught off right there. I believe just 1 went down. JimRising, though, not paying attention to his, or maybe that was a bit intentional, but a bit of a miscalculation there. He loses another muta, but really he can afford to keep replacing these if he chooses to do so. He's now getting Baneling Burrow 2-2 on the way. However, JimRising's NaTuRal's heading towards this 3-3, so their techs are sort of plateaued right now. So there's going to be a time in which NaTuRal may have an angle to sort of break through in this game. A Widowmine connects with one of the mutas there. JimRising, his mutas are taking a bit of a beating. He's just lost about 2 there, I believe. NaTuRal dropping the 5th base, going to get a few drones, but I believe that's it, as the mutas and Lings are coming to clean it up right now. Medivac boosting out, trying to buy any time it can for NaTuRal. NaTuRal's now pushing the front base, scanning, picking off creep, looking for a 5th base, but there's no gold base there. JimRising choosing not to go for that on this map. The rocks are going to be destroyed, and this is sort of giving NaTuRal an angle to attack. JimRising may try and get a flank here, but it's a long way for him to move those Banelings. But this is actually an absurd amount of Lings on the ground. They might not have the greatest upgrades currently. They're actually heading towards 2-2. He's finally going to get that, but 55 Banelings, 63 Banelings. I don't think JimRising cares what his upgrades are if he has that many Banelings. NaTuRal has currently 70 Marines with the greatest splits in the world. And that's sort of still a losing fight right now. We see these mutas for JimRising. They're getting more punishment done. 3-3 did finish for NaTuRal there, so he didn't lose those upgrades. And we actually see JimRising knows the strength of his mutas, just commits on top. He's killing off possibly a main base command center. He's just killed off all those Marines that were tasked with dealing with this. The Thor's coming in, but this command center is going to go down, and losing a base is a huge blow for a Terran play. No more scans for NaTuRal. However, NaTuRal dropping into the main base of JimRising. This is a very decisive move. He's killing off buildings right now. He's killing off the Fuse Force. He's going to focus down the Hive, and JimRising, though, identifies as throws down an Ultimus Cavern. Starts adrenal glands there for those Zerglings. So now we have these mutas. They're gonna sort of punish them up. JimRising types greedy there. Maybe, I guess, NaTuRal or JimRising was playing a little bit greedy. We now see these 2 Widowmines going to connect with 1 or 2 Lings there, but that's just 1 or 2 Lings right now. JimRising doing a good job splitting. Massive Widowmine hits are going to be required for NaTuRal to deal with this. He's got the Planetary. That's going to help him solidify right now. Planetary is actually amazing versus ground Zerg units. And now NaTuRal secured a 5th base for himself as well, so this game, though, it's sort of going to change pace a little bit. As JimRising's getting to these ultras, he's going to have the much scarier army, and sort of the window for NaTuRal to get too much done is sort of closing right now. He's just continuously going through these drops, but engaging the actual main army is not going to be happening for him right now. He's throwing up another CC, so it can go into very late game on this map. There's a lot of bases available for the players, and they're relatively possible for them to secure, but here we see the mutas moving in once again. JimRising 23 mutas. I believe they have +2 attack right now, so they're actually shredding anything. They can kill off buildings, kill off add-ons. The Widowmine connects, just hits the Overseer. Another one hits the mutas, though, but just killing 1 muta there. Not really enough for NaTuRal there. He's building up a decent bank of his own. Both players are maxed out right now. So fights can go either way, but due to the nature of their armies now, they're more likely to go JimRising's way as he's getting these ultras, he's getting chitinous plating, he's got the adrenal glands upgrade, so the Zergs are going to attack very, very quick right now. We see an ultra going down, trading for some bio here, but more banelings are crashing in. NaTuRal's going to need to split very well. He actually pulls back, deals with those banelings. However, that's just a portion of JimRising's banelings right now. He's got another 44. He can certainly make more as he's got a very scary bank. We see JimRising trying to get a flank right now, but NaTuRal's just pulling out just in time right there. Now he's going to be able to kite back versus these banelings, versus these ultralists. These ultras do just have +2 armor. All the units of NaTuRal do just have +2 armor. And now JimRising flying into a Thor right now. NaTuRal kiting back as far as he can. Just needs to kill off this one last ultra, but his bio is so overstimmed. Baneling's rolling forward, but the bio focusing it down. JimRising, though, did burrow. During all of that, he's going to need to scan if he doesn't identify it. It's JimRising. Oh, a massive Baneling connection there. Burrow was researched earlier on in this game, but that's a massive win for JimRising there. Finally getting some use out of it. Thors, though, have dealt with the mutas. Their count has been drastically reduced right now. 10 ultralists gone the way, though, for JimRising. NaTuRal's going to need to be making Marauders and Thors non-stop to deal with these ultras. We're now seeing Corruptors as a choice of anti-air. They're more tanky than the mutas. They're a bit more forgiving with the control than them. As JimRising did lead off a lot of them. We see NaTuRal going for another drop right now. But I'm not sure if he's going to have the time of day right now. We see all these ultras moving in. These 2 Thors are sort of going to be abandoned right now. Picks one of them up in the medivac. Does NaTuRal. There's the 2 Widow Mines, but there are more Trader Mines there. They just about kill one. A massive connection. They're killing off a good amount of use, but there's simply so much for JimRising right now. It looks like he's going to be able to kill off NaTuRal. This Planetary standing strong is being repaired right now. This Bio's actually doing a good amount of damage to the ultras, but the bases, the Thor is actually standing strong versus these ultras right now. However, that one Thor is going to go down. An ultra's going down. A few ultras have actually gone down. More burrowed Banes, though, for JimRising. Such good play there. Picks off those Banes. Well, picks off all that bio, and that was actually Marauders and whatnot that got picked off by those 2 Banes. NaTuRal's high bank is now gone. He's lost his mining bases. A Widow Mine killing off an ultra there, but there's so many for JimRising. There's 5 more on the way. NaTuRal doesn't really have the comeback potential anymore. He's producing as much as he can. He can kite all day, but the amount that it takes to kill off one of these ultras with this kiting, he's going to kill off another there. So he's shaving them off, but JimRising's more or less untouched. His economy's, he's sort of starting to mine out right now as he didn't secure too many more bases, but he's certainly better off than NaTuRal. NaTuRal, though, does have Widow Mines next to this Planetary Fortress, so breaking that may be a bit of a challenge. These ultras are fairly weak here, but there's like 10. Wings bait out those Widow Mine shots, so not going to get too much damage there. Ultra's just focusing down this Planetary. NaTuRal coming in, he picks off one of the Ultras. He's trying to fly out this other command center to save it. He's going to shave off one of the Ultras there, but there's so many more down here. They're just going to chase back. NaTuRal's going to have to kite for days here. Almost no workers for NaTuRal. He's currently down to 12. He's got really no mining bases right now. He's kiting. He's doing a fantastic job there, but kiting can only get you so far. You may need to lift off into these medivacs to get away from these ultras. He's trying to kite to the best of his ability. He's getting towards this. He's moving up north. He's just going to have to go across the entire map before he kills this. He lifts off. If he can land this army and heal it up, but the Corruptors are in pursuit. And looking at the production tab, that spells the main bit of this story right now. NaTuRal's trying to land a command center over there. I believe that's his NaTuRal. His main was killed, so he can't float that. He's really got no SCVs. He lost all those bases he had. It's really just this army he has, and it's being cleaned up right now. The Corruptor's killing off the medivacs. The Ultra's dealing with the army, and it looks like this is going to be JimRising's game, as NaTuRal didn't really get done what he needed. Well, get what he needed done there, so it's really just JimRising's game at this point. NaTuRal can try and get some harassment done, but looking at the army supply, looking at the overall supply, 3 times for JimRising. I think as these 2 Ultras march in, that's probably going to be GG. There's what, 4 Marines, 3 medivacs? Okay, there's Liberators on the way, but that's not going to be enough. These Lings are flooding in. JimRising takes the game. Very well played by JimRising. And great Terran versus Zerg on this map here. NaTuRal tried to make something happen, but he didn't quite get it. Didn't really get it done there, as his sort of choice of attacking was a bit bit odd. That first drop didn't really get too much done, and then his later on drops didn't get too much done. He never really managed to poke JimRising and deal critical damage. And then very well played by JimRising, staying alive, getting damage and value with those mutas. So, if you guys enjoyed the cast, feel free to leave a like. If you enjoy this sort of casting, feel free to subscribe, as I'm always trying to put out videos. Otherwise, I shall see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.